So next month, I have 1 year sober, 1 year with no alcohol. And I've done this before. I've battled with alcoholism pretty much my whole adult life. Addiction and alcoholism has been an issue of mine since I was a teenager. I was a pretty heavy drug addict up until I was in my early 20s. And when my grandfather passed away, that changed me. That kind of traumatized me. And at that point, drugs just didn't do it for me anymore. The only thing that I could find that could numb my problem was alcohol. So at that point in time, I was okay with that because drugs on the streets were getting really expensive. And I was on my own with 2 babies to support all by myself and a wife who didn't work at the time. So I said, okay, no problem. The drugs are getting really expensive on the streets. I can't afford it anyway. It's not doing it for me anymore. So I'm going to go to where my drug dealer is always open, dirt cheap, and it's legal. So I started drinking. And that's when I was 24 and struggled. I will be turning 34 next month. So 10 years I've been struggling with alcohol. And I have 1 year alcohol free next month, along with my birthday. As a matter of fact, my 1 year day is 2 days after my birthday. Here's the thing though, here's the funny thing. First of all, I didn't plan on quitting. I didn't wake up one day and say, okay, I'm quitting drinking. I just woke up one day and thought about it and thought about all the hangovers that I had had for the previous week or two and thought, that doesn't sound good. And that was it. That was it. And then I woke up the next day and said the same thing again. Thought about all the hangovers that I just had and thought, that doesn't sound good. And here I am almost a year later. Every time I think about it, I just think about the hangover it'll probably give me and the headache. And I'm just like, that doesn't sound good. I don't know why. I just, it was some kind of DNA activation in me or something. I don't know, but it doesn't sound good. Now, what most people usually ask you is, do you ever get tempted? Do you ever get tempted? And for me, there's been a couple of times. But here's the whole point of this video. There's some dots that I failed to connect throughout my history of alcoholism and whatnot. There's a few very important dots that I never ever connected until now. When I look back, all the periods that I have spent drinking very heavily and all the periods that I've spent with no alcohol, there's one common denominator in all that. And that is, when I'm drinking heavily, I'm fat. I swear, when I'm drinking heavily, I'm fat. Every time. It causes massive weight gain. If you look at pictures of me from all the way back throughout my 20s and whatnot, you can tell periods when I was drinking heavily and when I was drinking either very lightly or not at all. Because there was a couple of times where I intentionally quit drinking, and there was a couple of times where I just couldn't afford it, so I wasn't drinking very much at all. But you can always tell when I'm drinking heavily because I'm fat. So it's pretty cool because that is one of the things that's kept me going throughout this year. One of the things that's kept me going since I've thought about that. Because as you know, I've also stepped off onto a journey of fitness, health, and wellness. A journey that I started this July, it'll be 2 years. I started in July 2020. I started going to the gym with Coach Drew, my fitness trainer, and been making massive progress with that. And yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny because here it is coming up on a year that I haven't had any alcohol, and everybody always asks the same question: is it tempting? And now I have a much different answer than any time I've ever spent sober in the past. Yeah, kinda, but when I think not just it'll give you a hangover, but if you start drinking again, you'll get fat again. When that thought runs through my head, I'm like, okay, I'm good on that. I'm good on that. I'm not getting fat again. That may be kind of silly. I just wanted to share that with y'all.